Welcome to JHart Modelworks. This video is the first bench update on the Revell 41 Chevy pickup I'm building for the buddy build with my friend Chris from CD Scale Models. Welcome to my workbench. Let's get started. Hey guys, Justin here with JHart Modelworks with the first bench update on the buddy build with Chris from CD Scale Models on the truck builds. Before we really begin though, I want to go ahead and take care of some housekeeping business with it. The NSX was my very first full-on video build. It was fun. It was also a lot of work. And I did find at times that it was kind of sapping my mojo. And it wasn't the NSX. The NSX kit itself was a lot of fun to build. But I found there were times where I didn't really want to build because I didn't want to deal with videoing and editing and whatnot. There were times when I spent more days editing than I spent actually building. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not ever going to do another video build again. In fact, I think either the Chevy or the Skyline are going to be my very next video build. But because this is a buddy build, and Chris came to me, he's like, hey dude, I want to do a buddy build with you. Because this is a buddy build, and buddy builds are supposed to be about having fun with your buddy, building, having a blast. I really just want to kick back and, just have fun and build stuff and annoy the shit out of Chris and send him text messages and picture messages at like 1 a.m. Hey dude, I built a tail light. Look at it. He probably regrets even asking me to do this, but I just want it to be fun, and I don't want anything to kind of kill the fun of it. So I'm not going to do a full-on video build. There may be times when I decide to do something and I decide to video it and include it in an update. There may be times like with the mirrors where I decide to do a how-to on something. But for the most part, I just want to do this as a series of bench updates where I'm just going to work on the kit and kind of show you, week by week where I'm at with it until we get done. So with all of that over with and out of the way, let's go ahead and get to the bench and see what we got going on. So as you know from the prior video, the 41 Chevy pickup kit only comes with one mirror, and I did fabricate a set of matching side mirrors. I have decided to go with the black set. And once we start getting into the body work, you'll see why. Not only does the kit come with only one side mirror, it also only comes with one taillight. So I went ahead and fabricated a matching set of taillights to go on the back. The 90-degree arms are 1.2 millimeter plastic rod that I cut at a 45-degree angle, rearranged and glued back together to make a 90-degree arm. The base is a 3.6 millimeter rod that I drilled out so that it would fit over the arms and would glue down into place, and that's just going to give me more surface to glue because this is just going to flush glue up on the body, on the back of the bed. The cup is actually 4 millimeter round tubing with a small piece of a 4 millimeter circle cut from sheet styrene to fill up the back. The chrome trim is actually a 4 millimeter jump ring from my jewelry making days. It's just a little silver chrome ring that's used to connect two pieces together. And then I just glued that around the 4 millimeter tubing. And then I used the UV glue again to make the lens and just painted it with some Tamiya clear red. I think those came out really good. Now, I originally had planned on doing this in Zero Paint's candy red over their medium silver. And then I noticed that Splash Paints had Brandywine candy, which I have been a little harsh on Splash Paints in the past. I only used their paints once. It was a white pearl. It was an AMG white pearl, and white's a notoriously hard color to spray anyhow, but I just wasn't overly fond of it. But when I saw the brandy candy, I went ahead and decided to give it a try again. So I was looking at their website and it was out of stock. And I waited a couple of weeks. And then I went and emailed the guy. And I was like, hey, when do you know when the candy black and the brandy wine candy are coming back in stock? He's like, well, it should be in by the end of the week. So I waited. End of the week came. It wasn't in stock. Waited like another 2 more weeks and it still wasn't in stock. So I was like, hey, I emailed you a couple of weeks ago about the candy black and the brandy wine candy. Just wanted to see if there's any kind of an update as to when that was going to be in stock. He's like, I've been waiting on labels. I've been waiting on my labels. They haven't come in yet. But if you are okay ordering without labels, I'll go ahead and set it up so you can order. So he went ahead and set it up so that I could go place an order and sent me I ordered 2 bottles of the brandy wine candy red and 2 bottles of the candy black. And I should have gotten 2 bottles of the candy silver. I only got 1. I actually should have gotten more red than I did. I didn't expect to use as much as I did, but that's okay. We got it painted. I had hoped to get it cleared by this weekend, but it is not. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the fender section. And again, this will look very different once it's got clear coat on it. But here's our fenders in the candy black. The taped off areas are actually already sprayed in Tamiya LP3 flat black. And this is the brandy wine candy. Also went ahead and painted the little signal lights on top of the headlight housings. All in all, that came out really clean. I have like an entire bottle of, like a bottle and a third of the candy black left over. Not so much on the candy red. We have our cab, which we have sprayed in the red, and we've done our bare metal foil work on. Additionally, on the inside, I went ahead and sprayed it with some LP61 metallic gray. I was going for a bare metal look on the interior, but I didn't want like a full-on metal, so I kind of wanted that dull metal look on the inside, so that's what I'm going with. It's kind of hard to see because it's all taped up. And we have the hood. We've done our bare metal foil work in here. I tried as hard as I could to get in between those vents to get that cleaned out. And the underside's already been cleared. It's just been cleared with some LP9 clear red. Just it's the bottom, it's the underside, so I'm not expecting any dust damage or anything. And being the underside of the hood, I'm not that interested in 2K clear coating it. I did have a slight goober right there on that one corner that happened while I was doing the bare metal foil. Now this was a pain in the butt because I sanded and keyed it like I normally did, and I sprayed it and it looked fine. The primer looked beautiful. I went ahead and sanded the primer to make the primer smooth. Dusted it, cleaned it up, sprayed the silver. The silver looked fine. And then I went and sprayed the red, and you could see these scratches in it. In fact, you can still see some on the back of the cab where you can see just kind of a scratchy pattern. With this being the back of the cab, this is going to be covered with the bed, so I don't really care about this.
but this was like 1,000 times worse. It went in a pattern diagonal across the hood, and it was real noticeable. It was real, I mean, it just looked like somebody took sandpaper across it. It was just bad. So I went ahead and stripped it and completely sanded the body, the plastic down with the micro mesh. I went with the 3600 grit, then the 4000, then the 6000. And once I had it as far as I thought it was absolutely smooth, I ended up sanding it like 3 times, going through all three of those grits 3 times. And then I finished it off with an 8000 grit, reprimered it, resprayed it. Everything came out perfectly fine this time. So I'm much happier that I did it. But doing so, I used up all of my red, the last bit of red that I had left. But that's okay. I didn't really have anything planned for it. I was just holding on to it as extra in case I needed some, in case I did something like mess up the hood and need to respray the hood when doing the bare metal foil. So I don't really want to buy any more paint just to respray that hood. That one little blotch is minor. All of my kits have a flaw to them. This kit has a ton, and I mean an absolute ton of ejector pin marks. They're in everything. Every part has ejector pin marks on it. And wherever there's an ejector pin mark, there's usually a sink on the other side. And I thought that was the case because there's an ejector pin on the underside of this section right here in these ribs. There's an ejector pin mark. On the top of these ribs was all sunk down in, and it looked like a really, really bad sink. Unbeknownst to me, that was not a really bad sink. That was actually the hole where the crank for the front windshield goes. Apparently on the 41 Chevy pickup, there was a small little crank, and you just crank that crank like an old-fashioned window roller, and it would open up the front windshield so the air could come into the cabin. Who knew? So I actually filled and sanded and reprofiled those grooves and got those grooves to be absolutely perfect, only to come to find out that I wasn't supposed to. So what I'm going to do is actually cut the crank off smooth and just glue it down where it's supposed to go. And we're going to pretend that didn't happen. But we have the front side of our firewall. And the rest end of this is the Stynylrez Res Black. You know, I love my Stynylrez Res Black primer, especially if I'm going to spray a silver over it. But I masked it off to keep the black underside. And I've got some of the buttons detailed in here. But some of these are going to go back in with some additional colors after the clear coat goes on. I did do some bare metal foil to get the trim along the underside. But that up there is all paint. That's just Vallejo Model Air Silver, as are the buttons. But we'll go back in and we may change some of the button colors. I believe one of these is actually a cigarette lighter. I think it's that first one is supposed to be black. I think one of these is supposed to be white. So we'll go ahead and touch that up, but we're going to do that after we get some clear on here. Since I'm going for the show truck look, I've gone ahead and done the chassis in the Brandywine Candy Red as well. And since this is going to be underneath the truck, and again, I don't expect that much dust underneath it, I went ahead and just cleared it with the LP9 clear gloss clear as well. One of the main reasons I use 2K clear is just maintenance. I live in a very dusty area, and I don't spend a lot of time dusting or cleaning my models. And I've noticed that all the kits that I first started doing, where I was using Tamiya TS13, the dust has settled into the clear, and they're really rough. They're no longer glossy anymore. There's a rough texture to them. You can't clean them up. You can't polish them up. If you do, you run the risk of going through that soft clear. So I 2K pretty much everything now. We have our bed panels. Those are the sides. We have the front of the bed. And again, you can kind of see that pattern in there, but I'm just going to deal with it. And no, that's the front of the bed. And that is the tailgate. And finally, we have the steely wheels. Oh, not finally. So the kit comes with, of course, the 4 wheels, but it also comes with a spare. So that's the rim for the spare. And then the 4 main wheels have their lug nuts in them. But that 5th one doesn't have lug nuts in it, and I actually drilled it out where the lug nuts should go so that it's actually hollow like it should be. Last but not least, we have the visor, which is in the candied black as well. When all is said and done, that's going to sit up on top of there. Something about like that. And I will go back in and I will paint those hinges on the sides with some form of metal color. So that's where we're at right now. So my plan for this week is to get everything clear coated this weekend. And I don't know if I'm going to start on the engine or if I'm going to start trying to figure out how I'm going to paint the wood bed for the truck. So I have a couple ideas. I've got some extra colors to try for the wood. We're going to see what happens. If you have not checked out Chris's channel, go ahead and check Chris's channel out. The link will be up there in the corner, or it'll also be in the description below. See what Chris is doing with his build. And that's going to wrap it up for this bench update. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Also, feel free to leave comments, feedback, critique, or anything else in the comment section below. I enjoy interacting with all my viewers in the comment section and try to reply to all the comments I receive. If you want to catch future videos, please consider subscribing to my channel and make sure you click the bell notification icon so you can be notified when I upload new videos. As always, thank you for watching, keep modeling, and have a great day.